Hello, hello, hello. Social media. Yeah, you can let me just set your expectations. We've got a lot of this hesitation and delay, but that's not going to stop us from having our famous Super Sassy Saturday. And I am super excited about my phenomenal guest this afternoon in some cities, in the early morning, and in some cities, the one, the only, the famous, the icon himself, Prince DaJour is in the house on today. Y'all, I know y'all out there clapping to give them a round of applause. That is my friend. I am so happy to have you. How you doing this morning, my buddy?
I am doing absolutely
It's so
fantabulous.
good to
Vic,
see you.
thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Oh, well, it is my pleasure to bring you to my side of social media, and to be able to let some people that in my group see who you are. They may have heard the background, they may have read your bio, but to know the real you. Hi, Dr. T. Dr. T in the house with us too.
it.
But to
Dr.
know the
T.
background of the real you and who you are, and what you stand for, is going to be so, it's a place of, I'm excited. I can't say it enough. I'm excited to have you here today with us. Somebody go out there and let everybody know that we are in the house today with this phenomenal young man, and we're going to be talking just it's two good friends sitting here having a conversation. That's how it is around in these neck of the woods. So I want to start off with this because a lot of people remember you as that fiery hostess of Teen Summit, and all of those other phenomenal programs on BET. I remember the first time that I knew I was going to have the pleasure of sitting in a forum with you, the Power the first Power Shut Up symposium with our good friend Lisa Washington. I was super excited because I'm like, oh my God, it's that guy. I remember that time of life. It was some of the greatest times of our life. So what has it been? Introduce yourself as you want people to know you from then to now. We can read all
Well,
about your bio, but hear from this horse's mouth means so much more.
right. Well, I'll keep it real simple. I guess most of the details are in the bio, so they probably can just reread that from your post. But, television host from BET. I got my start on BET when I was about maybe 18 years old. I started at BET and I became a national television host. And then from there on, I started doing radio in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, with Donnie Simpson from Video Soul on BET. And we still do radio to this day together at the same radio station. That's Magic 102.3 in the DMV. That's a Radio One radio station with Kathy Hughes. She owns like all the biggest urban radio stations around the country. And so, of course, I have a backstory before I got to BET, which most people are pretty interested and fascinated about the path that I took that led me to
Yeah.
BET. That's probably even more fascinating than the fact that I was on BET. But I was a young kid in DC, and I just found my way to the BET network. So
Yes.
that's pretty much what people know me as. And of course, I speak around the country. I speak at colleges, churches, different organizations have me to travel around. We do it. We do what we call tour DaJour, where I travel around the country and I speak about my life. We talk about relationships, teen pregnancy, drug abuse, alcoholism, education, relationships, spirituality. We talk about a little bit of everything. So my life in general is it's way more than just BET, because some people see you and put you in a box as the host of BET, but I'm a very spiritually intuitive person where when I meet people, I'm able to speak into their lives. Some people from the church background call it prophetic. Other people outside of the church may just say spiritually intuitive. Whatever title you want to give it, it's a gift from God that I have where I'm able to speak into people's lives for encouragement, for development, about entertainment, about just finding your way, finding your purpose, and finding your path. And of course, may he rest in paradise. My mentor was Dr. Miles Monroe. That was one of my personal mentors before he passed away. He and his wife Ruth, out of the Bahamas, were some of my personal mentors. So I travel around and just try to perpetuate and continue to educate people about life and human development. That's what I do.
And you said something very unique, and I'm going to paraphrase it. People know where what their perception of what they see of where you started, and they see a perception of where you are now. But the behind the scenes is so much more phenomenal, because the person that's on the inside, and we talked about this at the symposium, that root that's on the inside, that was already there. You just took
Yeah.
different avenues to get where you need to be right now. And to hear you, I get chills. Somebody's, oh, you're just saying it because he's a celebrity. No, it's not that at all. I get chills when I hear you talk directly and profoundly about the help and the words that we give out of our mouths, and our lives, and how it does teach value to other people. And so to know you as that hostess of that era in your life, but to see how it's evolved and continues to evolve into a different segment of help. You are definitely one of those people who speak life into people, and you don't have any hesitation with it. So let me ask you this, Prince. Has there ever been a time that you can think about, in between those in between moments, that you hesitated and said, why me? Why am I the one who's given this information? With my past, present, why am I the guy? Have you ever had that moment?
Yeah, I definitely had that moment. Just to give you a little backstory of my life. Let me just take you back. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. I'm preparing to tell you this, but I get chills every time I talk about it. I was certainly chosen at birth. I was one of those people who, they said many are called, but the chosen a few. I was certainly chosen within my family. I was the David. I was the Joseph of my family, where I was different. I
Wow.
was unique. I had different dreams from my other siblings and that kind of thing. So let me take you back to the very beginning. Excuse me. My mother was a young woman, from Indian heritage, out of North Carolina. She had 5 children before I was even born. I'm number 6. And my mother was a young woman struggling in the inner city, trying to find a way to survive
Wow.
with these 5 babies. And so my mother said to herself, there's no way that I can have baby number 6 because I can't afford to take care of it. My father, who has a Dominican heritage background, came from New York and moved to DC and ended up meeting my mom. My father also had 5 children. Keep in mind, both of them had 5 children
Wow.
by different people. So my father had 5 kids with different baby mamas. My mother had 5 kids by, different baby daddies. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way at all. That's their life. That's their path. But here I am now, this baby. And my
Right.
father was in a car accident, and he became sterile where he couldn't make babies anymore. My mother already had 5 kids, and my father had 5 kids, so neither one of them wanted another baby. Well, my mother ended up getting pregnant by my father. It was a miracle because he couldn't make babies because he was sterile for many years. And so we know from conception itself, I was destined to be here. And so my mother, who was the daughter of a preacher out of North Carolina back in those days, you kind of embarrassed the family if you had a baby out of wedlock. If you had a baby and you weren't married, my mother was the only child in her family out of 14 children that had kids and wasn't married. So she kind of, I guess, embarrassed or shamed the family because of religion. And so my mother, when she got pregnant with me and she came to Washington, D.C., my mother was thinking about having an abortion. And my mother had that God consciousness, kept telling her, don't do it because this child is a special child. He's a special child. Don't do it. Don't have an abortion. My mother had that God consciousness because she was the pastor's kid. And she had that consciousness of guilt, that religious guilt that kept saying, I can't do it. I can't do it. But my mother said, there's no way I can take care of baby number 6. So my mother went to the abortion clinic. She scheduled an appointment. My mother was up on the tables, had her legs up on the stirrups. And the doctor and the nurses began to proceed with the procedure of giving my mother an abortion with me. The doctor went into the back of the clinic to get something, and he asked the nurse to come back there, and they were kind of putting together their strategy of how they was going to perform this abortion. And my mother just couldn't handle the pressure of the Holy Spirit revealing to her that this child is going to be special. And so my mother unclamped herself from the table and ran out of the abortion clinic and ran home. And she said, I'm going to keep this baby. I don't know how I'm going to feed him. I don't know how I'm going to take care of him, but I'm going to keep him. And so that's the story of my life. That's where it all began. If my mother had that abortion, I wouldn't be the Prince DaJour that people know today. So clearly my life was destined. And I did ask the question, to get back to your original question. I did ask the question, why me? What's so special about me? I grew up in the hood. My mother was on welfare. She struggled with 6 kids. I didn't have anything according to my standards. I didn't have anything that was special that made me sort of different from everybody else. I always felt different. I always knew that there was something unique about me. And so, as time went on and I became Prince DaJour, the way people knew me, I've always been in the entertainment industry. I made my first, I used to make TV commercials, and I was in plays in school, and I made my first 45 record when I was 10 years old. Matter of fact, me and Kenny Lattimore, the R&B singer, wow. Kenny Lattimore, we grew up together in church, and Kenny was the lead singer and I was the drummer, and I was a singer also. We made a few albums together and with some gospel groups, and that's how my career began. I became exposed to entertainment and church and performing and commercials and talent shows, and all my life I've been on this journey of entertainment in some kind of way. I never thought in a million years that I would be someone to actually speak to people about helping them with their life. But of course, your pain that you go through in your life is your education. My pain was my university. And so it educated me about the issues of life. I was a teen father. I was a single teen father at the age of 18. My baby's mom, who was out there, kind of got caught up into some things out in the streets, and I was forced to take care of a baby by myself. I have a brother that died from a heroin overdose. My father was found dead in his apartment from drinking too much. So I've had a lot of experiences, excuse me, a lot of experiences that made me the master teacher that I am. It led me on the path of prophetically speaking into other people's life, because if you can survive your pain, you will graduate to the next level. Only if you can survive. The people who become anointed are the ones that survive their university of pain. If you can't survive it, then you'll never be a teacher. And so I always ask myself, why me? I was the kid who, and I'll just say this real quickly, and then my story is like a movie, but I'll just say this. I remember as a kid riding my bicycle. I remember as a kid riding my bicycle with some of my friends, because BET was in my neighborhood. It was about maybe 15 minutes away from my neighborhood. So I would ride over to the McDonald's every day with my bicycle, me and my homeboys, and we would always look at BET, and the limousines would pull up with different celebrities getting out of it every day. And I used to always say, man, I would love to be famous one day. I would love to be on BET with Donnie Simpson. Donnie Simpson has always been like a mentor, a role model to me. I just thought he was the coolest host on BET. He had one of the hottest shows, and he was in radio and television, and I just wanted to be like Donnie Simpson. So when I would ride my bicycle every day from the McDonald's, we would look across the parking lot and see BET. Little did I know that God already had it in a plan for me to be one of the people getting out of the limousine myself. And so not many years after that, I became a host on BET, and I can tell you that story, later on, according to what we talk about, how I actually got on BET. But one day I was on the left side of the parking lot with my bicycle, having a dream of being on BET. And a few years later, I was on the other side of the fence as one of the hosts of BET, getting out of the limos myself. So dreams do come true, and God is good. And when God has a purpose for your life, no matter how many abortions your mama tried to have, no matter how many abortions your mama had before you came along, no matter how many people tell you can't make it, you can't do it. If God has a purpose for your life, can't nobody stop what God has planned for your life. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be famous. I came from the hood. Why me? Out of all the people in my neighborhood, why was I chosen to be? And it's funny you call me a celebrity. That's actually something that I don't call myself. I just don't really see myself as a celebrity, although other people do. I just see myself as a voice. I tell people that I'm a voice, and God uses me as a voice, but I never want to buy into, because when I think of celebrity, I think of ego. I think of pride. I think of people who think that they're so glamorous and so famous and so rich that they forget about humanity. And I'm not saying that all celebrities do that, but celebrity itself is like a machine and a monster. If you don't really know who you are, and if you're not careful, it will draw you in to believe your own hype. It will bring you into a place of narcissism to believe that it's all about you. And so I'm humbled enough to understand that it's not about me, that you can be here today and gone tomorrow. You can be famous today. You can be rich today and poor tomorrow. Anything can happen in any kind of way. So I always take the humble road to call myself just a vessel and a voice to be used. And so the question, why me, was a question all my life. And I still ask that question. What's so cool and unique about me, God? Why did you choose me out of all the kids in my hood, in my neighborhood? And God says, why not? And so here I am.
Whew. I want everybody to just take a 5-minute second moment and marinate on why what this man stand for means so much to me. It wasn't about meeting you in the way that we met or what have you. That was a divine connection God put into place. I truly believe that. But to hear you, and you are correct. I teach a positive self building course, and you got to come. I got to have you come one morning just so you can get a little taste of what we do. But you spoke and some of my students are watching. You spoke prophetically again some of the things that we talked about this morning.
Wow.
Doesn't matter what your title is. It doesn't matter none of that. It matters what's on the inside of you that is protruding out of what your true value is.
Right.
That's the class we're teaching right now. Your true value started when you were in your mother's womb and you came out and touched the ground, and the vibes went from one root, the vibration went from one area to another area that increased your visibility into this atmosphere to be able to empower us and impact us with your story.
Yes.
See, most people, as you say, they don't see that other side of that young man who was on the other side of the fence. They see the young man who came in the limo.
Right.
But what came in the limo started from a seed that wasn't supposed to grow.
That's
And
right.
I thank you for
Thank you.
allowing the seed to grow, because
Yes.
you could have stopped it. There's some people that have heard, that are listening right now, and to all of you that if I don't say thank you, let me just thank you right now for those that are tuning in and watching, and we're going to pop up your comments so that everyone can see it. But thank you so much for joining. But there's somebody out there who is either watching now or be watching later that do could say, because of how I was brought into this world, I don't have a chance to make it. Because of where my mother and father were, I don't have a chance to make it. Because of what I see, what I saw in society, or what I'm seeing in society is keeping me from doing. We all can make excuses about our past and what it could do, the negative. But as you said, this is the true part, this is the true facts of the life. You allow those negatives, or what perceived to be negatives, to be the very thing that empowers you. It wasn't the fact that you were all big and bright on being about the big and bright that's inside of you, that says in spite of, you still got to push. So
That's
you
right.
were right in. It's those of you that are in my class, y'all know I'm about to jump to the screen and just hug him, because you are confirming what we were talking about today. It's
That's
important
powerful.
to know your true value, and
Yes.
it goes past of where you started. So I thank you for, and please, as we said before the show got started, we're just having a conversation. We're just
That's
feeling the
it.
atmosphere with the positivity
Yes.
of where you came from and how you are impacting the lives.
Yeah. Thank
Because
you.
see, this is the thing. You have talked to many celebrities. You've talked to kings and queens. I'm going to put it like this. You talked to kings and queens and all of those people.
Mm-hmm.
But what they got from the true conversation was not what they probably even thought about it until later. To
Mm-hmm.
have the impact of your conversation impacts people's lives. It draws them to a different place.
Mm-hmm.
So let's tap into this a little bit. Because you even said it. If you start calling up, people can get drawn into these titles. They can get drawn into the shining lights. I'm gonna sing the song again, y'all. I did it in class today. Shining star for you to see what your life could truly be. So the thing is, you could have been drawn into, yeah, you know me, buddy. You could have been drawn into that part of that site. You know what I'm saying? You could have been drawn into that part where you did come from the hood. You made it across the other side of the fence. Baby, I'm here now. What y'all gonna do with me? Was there ever a time in your life through that transition? Because I'm sure even crossing the fence, there were times that you were still dealing with the before. Was there ever a time that you can pinpoint that something just hit you and said, I'm going to keep going, even though my story pushes me? There's still those moments, but I'm going to still keep going, because there's somebody out there listening right now, Prince, that they crossed the fence, but they're hesitating about moving because the shining light is drawing them into so many different areas. Because in the industry, you would have had opportunities to go to the right instead of going to the left. Help someone out there, help me say steady the course and keep going.
Wow. Well, it's interesting that you said that, Vic, because the part of the story that I didn't tell, I told you my life is clearly like a movie, and many people have confronted me about possibly doing a movie about my life because I was the Fresh Prince. You know, matter of fact, Donnie Simpson always called me the Fresh Prince of DaJour. He always teased me because my life was kind of like that kid who went from this to that, and that's pretty much how I was. So the part of the backstory before I even got to McDonald's riding my bike was that I ended up getting involved in selling drugs in my neighborhood. I became a major drug dealer in my neighborhood over a period of time back like in the late 80s, the middle 80s and late 80s. I was, 14 and 15, but I was out there on the streets. I knew better. My mother raised us up in church, but I was sneaking and hiding and bringing the tennis shoes and clothes through my window and my gold chains. And I was trying to be like all the other kids because I always felt so different. I always felt out of place. Even with my, my Hispanic heritage background, it made me feel a little uncomfortable. Kids would see me as the guy with the curly hair. They would tease me Chico, Julio, they would tease me and say things just because, I guess they realized that I look different from them. But, none, even beyond just my heritage and my look and everything, I always just felt different inside. So instead of me just being my true self, my message to anyone listening right now is don't be afraid to be you because you're chosen. You're chosen by rejection. You're chosen to be different. And, I was rejected many times by many different groups of people. And I used to always feel out of place. Like, what can I do to fit in with the crowd? Well, little did I know, God was actually telling me, I'm setting you apart from the crowd. You're trying to follow them, and I'm trying to remove you from the crowd to make you a leader so that they can follow you. And so when I started selling drugs, I dropped out of high school for 2 years. I was on the streets hanging out, partying, going to strip clubs, and I was trying to do all the stuff that all the guys were doing in my neighborhood because it was the cool thing to do. And let me just say this to the ladies. A lot of time guys don't sell drugs just because they want to sell drugs. They want to have material things, cars, the clothes, the ladies. But the truth is, the ladies, you have more power than you imagine that you do. Because oftentimes guys do a lot of this stuff just to get the praise of the women in the neighborhood. The girls always wanted the bad boys. The girls always wanted the drug dealer kind of guys, not the smart guys. And I was a fairly smart guy, but I was hiding my knowledge and my wisdom. What I did was I dimmed my light so I can pretend like I wasn't as smart, because the girls didn't want the guys that were super smart back then. Nowadays it's different. Back then they wanted the guys that were street, that were cool, that was hip hop. So I began to live this persona of me being this, this guy who was just like all the other guys, and I ended up becoming successful at that too. So when I sold drugs, I was just trying to make a little money to buy some sneakers and be cool and get some cool clothes, but I ended up becoming pretty big in the game in the DMV during that time. That's before the crack epidemic happened. And then when the crack epidemic happened, as you know, it kind of wiped our entire city out, including our mayor. And so I kind of backed out of the game at that point. I did go back to high school and I graduated with honors. And that's another part of my story, because that's how I got on BET. My transition was being a high school dropout, going back to school and graduating with honors. And the year that I came, and my high school allowed me to come back. Most high schools tell you just go get a GED. I didn't want a GED. I wanted my actual diploma. So I went back to the school. They let me in, and I had to make up the credit. I had to go to night school, day school, and summer school to make up 2 years worth of credits that I missed because I'm hanging out on the streets trying to be cool and hang out with the fellas and trying to impress the girls. And the year that I came, this is how God works though, Vic. The year that I came back to school, and my principal allowed me to come back and get my certificate, my diploma, that's the year that BET created a show called Teen Summit. And BET reached out to all the area high schools and asked them to send students to represent the high schools to audition for a show that they had called Teen Summit, where they give teenagers an opportunity to talk about everyday life issues, teen pregnancy, drugs, gang banging. We talked about all of the issues that were facing young people. And all the high schools sent 3 representatives, but only one person made it from all the high schools. My high school, all 3 of us made it. And I was one of the ones that was chosen. The school teacher saw something in me, and he said, you need to audition for this show on BET. It's the new black cable network called BET. It's the first black cable network ever. They making history, and they're about to do a teen talk show. And I think you'll be great because all the kids always listen to you in class. Whenever you talk, I see all the kids bringing their desk around your desk, and they ask you questions about life, sex. They ask you just random questions, and you always have an answer for them. See, little did I know that God had already given me a gift of wisdom back then, but I didn't even know how I knew some stuff. I just always had information about stuff. I've always been a book reader, but in the hood, I wouldn't let nobody know I was reading books because it wasn't cool. So I would read at home and put the book down and go back out there and turn my hat on backwards and be real hip hop. I would never tell them, but I was always gaining and acquiring knowledge. And so I made the audition, and that's how I became nationally and internationally known on BET. So the timing was perfect. Had I never gone back to school,
Wow.
had I never stepped beyond my fear, had I never stopped beyond the fence at the McDonald's, and I stayed on that side because my fear will hold me back, or your fear will hold you back, I would have never be who I am today, and I would never be in this position. So I went beyond fear. I figured I'm already in the hood. We already kind of struggling in the ghetto. What can I possibly have to lose? But I have everything to gain. And so I like 50 Cent, the rapper 50 Cent, he had an album called Get Rich or Die Trying. And of course I wasn't trying to die, but I was willing to not just get rich, but I guess I can call my album Fulfill Your Purpose or Die Trying, because mine was about putting all my chips in the bucket and try to fulfill, and I'm going to give it a shot so I can get out of the hood. So that was my ticket to get out of the hood by auditioning for this show on BET. All the other guys did sports. Their ticket out of the hood was playing basketball or football, trying to get in the NFL or the NBA. Well, I went the entertainment route, and I was blessed enough to get the audition, and that's how I got on Teen Summer. That's how I was exposed on BET.
You know what? I am just sitting over here. I got so many questions in my head, but maybe not necessary questions, but it's not even questions. It's statements that you're just the nuggets. If you're not grabbing these nuggets, y'all, I don't know what's wrong with y'all. That's all I got to say. Because your life is a nugget story.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
I can't wait for the book. I can't wait for the stage play. Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. My arms.
I received it. Yes.
I can't wait for all of that because you and I use the phrase celebrity and icon because that's what society relates to. But you're my icon and my celebrity because you are a surviving individual causing change. That's what celebrity means to me. You're an individual pushing through everything, causing change. And when I see you, you're that strength, you're that rod, you're that rope, that life support rope that somebody can pull onto and hang on for dear life. There's some of us that watch Teen Summit, that we've watched you, and we've sat here and we've gone, if he can do it, I know I can. And see, this is the thing. Like you said, you realize where it came from. You realize where your gift came from. You realize where your anointing is. It started back then, but now you're able to impact and grow from it even more. Like you said, other people did sports. You did entertainment. You did entertainment, but you also brought entertainment. You brought the spiritual gifts into a perspective in such a way that people don't look at you. They don't understand how somebody from the hood can turn around and cause lives to be changed. Well, if you're a true believer out there, that's what God did. That's what he did. He sent something that was almost impossible to change the whole trajectory of what we know life to be.
That's right.
And you, my friend, continue to do that through your story. You continue to do that through even the times that you share and talk to other people. You know, we've been doing shout out to my girl Lisa Washington and be a part of her symposium, because we may not have gotten together to know the behinds. You know, I think I left the first symposium calling you my brother because we were all amazed about the inputs that we were giving. But I related, I was like, dang, this dude is just, he pulling at my heartstring. Because when I can hear compassion, passion, love, all of these come from somebody that everybody else is, oh man, he just talking smack. No, he's not. If you are thinking this young man is talking smack today, then you really do not, you really need to set up a consultation with him. You need to call him and say, look, I got an identity crisis. I'm in an identity crisis. And it's because you bringing it down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
There's one thing to be humble, but there's another thing to be real.
Yes.
You know, we can act humble, but to be real and humble, now that's a tool. So I thank you for being that man.
Thank you.
That's touching lives. I got 3 grandsons, and I pray, I hope that they're able to watch this video as they grow older to hear you talk.
Yes.
I'm just going to put it out there. Black men have enough issues as it is. White men have issues as it is. Every man has issues, but men sometimes are not looked at as having a reason to speak out. Sometimes we want to keep them. We always say the men are so strong that they don't have a moment where they can be humble and show where they come from.
Show emotions.
And I thank you for empowering and impacting. Yes, impacting people. You and Danny became my brothers from the, and you know, it's like we all end up being family from the symposium. And but you're bringing some things to the table. I want to ask you something. I mean, I know you know, I'm speaking it. I don't, you know, I'm behind the scenes looking in, right? I'm looking at you. I'm reading all of your posts and all that kind of stuff. I see you traveling and all of that. I live through your adventures, if you will, for right now until I get my limo and my airplane. I'm living through you right now. But as I, you know, I'm speaking it. But as you prepare for the book, as you prepare for the movie, as you prepare for all of those things that are forthcoming in your life, what would you say to someone who is at the crossroad? They've decided now, since they've heard you speak, that they're going to keep pushing. How would you tell them? What gifts, what knowledge would you give them to say, these are some steps that you need to take? These are some goals that you need to look at to stay in sync with who the inner you really is. Because sometimes we can start walking in the path, but we might start with step 1, but we jump to step 3 because somebody else did step 3 and they had a better success rate. But how can you give some feedback to the people that say, okay, these are some goals that you need to think about as you're moving forward?
Well, one of the things I would say is when we think of the word, when people always say you're so self-conscious, we always say that in a negative way. We always tell people you need to stop being so self-conscious about yourself. The truth is, I'm telling people you should be self-conscious. You should be conscious of yourself. And so I'm twisting it and turning that around in a more positive way, not self-conscious in terms of low self-esteem or insecurity, but self-conscious in becoming self-aware, God conscious. And so when you become self-conscious of who you are and who the God is in you, then you'll begin to understand that it all begins with you. And it sounds probably kind of corny because you hear people say this all the time. You need to know yourself, to thine own self be true, as they say. But it really is. If I would have believed in myself and knew who I was, I could have avoided selling drugs. I could have avoided dropping out of school. But I didn't have enough positive people in my life, at least the ones that I listened to mentor me. And mentorship is very important. Everyone needs a mentor, even if you don't know them personally, someone that you can look up to and pattern yourself after to follow the path. Donnie Simpson was one of mine. I have many other people that I looked up to in my community, but he was one of the ones who was really doing it real big, and I wanted to be like him. And so the first thing I would say is self-consciousness. Be aware of be conscious of yourself and how God made you unique, whether it's your height, whether it's the way you speak, the way you rap, the way you sing, the way you braid hair, the way you cut hair, the way you play basketball, the way you love medicine. Whatever your gifts are, don't write them off as just being silly and and insignificant. Sometimes the things that you love to do that gives you personal joy and fulfillment are the way that God is tipping you off on the path that you're on with your life. I believe that children are the purest form of truth. Most children, when they're small, they say, I want to go to the moon one day. I want to be famous one day. I want to be a star. I want to be a rapper, a comedian. A lot of times in society, we talk children out of their dreams. And we talk them out of their dreams because it doesn't make sense to us,
Yes.
because we don't have enough faith, because we don't have enough courage. We don't have enough strength to get out there and give it a shot. So because we have fear, we project that fear onto our children and also children in the community. You need to tell children you can be whatever you want to be. Imagine if Barack Obama, somebody told him that he could never be president. Many people, when I was in the 7th grade, my French teacher in class asked all the kids what you want to be when you grow up. And all the kids said, I want to be a basketball player, football player, because those were the only things in the hood that most young men aspired to. They figured all we can be is basketball and football players. Not many people said scientists or doctors or lawyers or, or the president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So when I raised my hand, I told him I want to be famous. And she said, what? Everybody looked at me and started laughing. How are you going to be famous? I said, I want to be a star one day. And she said, how are you? I mean, that seemed like a type of dream that couldn't be achieved. And I said, I'm going to be famous one day. So when they laughed at me, and what's funny is when I became famous on BET and all the other things that I've done, the commercials and different parts of music videos, they asked me to come back and speak at Career Day. And I remember very clearly everybody laughed and said, you'll never do it. Well, I did it, and I'm still doing it. And I'm just getting started, because this is phase 2 of my life, where God is about to really come full circle with it. So become conscious of yourself. The next thing I would say is exposure. Exposure is very, very important, because you must be exposed to something beyond where you are. The only reason that I wasn't afraid to fulfill my dreams and audition and get out there and try it, even if I failed, even if the doors closed on me, I wasn't afraid of failure and rejection, because I've already been rejected. Being in the hood and being a Black man by itself is rejection. And so everyday society rejects us as Black men to say, you'll never be anything. You're going to jail. You'll never be anything. So we were born in rejection, unfortunately, in our culture. And so we got to step outside of that stigma and become who God says we are. And so I had different families that were like mentors to me. They would take me, to different places and different things and expose me to stuff outside of my neighborhood. So I would come home and say, wow, I've been to the suburbs. They have houses like this, Mom. I would come back and tell my mother stuff I'd never seen before. Wow, you can eat this kind of food in restaurants. Wow, this is what celebrities do. So because they were taking me to expose me to different things, it made me develop an appetite. It made me to develop an idea that, hey, now that I had a taste of this, I want some of that. I want some of that food that the rich people eat. I want to drive those kind of cars. I want to live in those kind of neighborhoods. So if you are an adult listening to this show right now, find someone that you can mentor, a group of kids, even if it's just one kid, and expose them to something different that they've never had before. The reason why young girls dress the way they do and call themselves bitches and hoes, and the reason why young guys call themselves niggas, and everything is always pants hanging off their butt, and everybody want to put a gun in their hand, and everybody want to do drugs and alcohol. And I'm not trying to knock it, because I grew up in that same environment. I used to be the same type of dude trying to be cool, popping bottles in the strip club. I did all of that, but that's because no one ever exposed us that we can be something other than a drug dealer, other than a stripper, other than a gangster. I mean, you can be whatever you want to be, but those are only the only images that we see perpetuated in our neighborhoods. So we begin to feel like that's all we can be. But if you take some of those kids and take them to Africa and show them how the African kids live, or take them to the suburbs, or take them to nature, take them to the river, to the ocean, take them places that they would never be able to have an opportunity to go because they don't have the money, and expose them to, make them put on a suit and tie and take off the baggy jeans. And it's okay to have baggy jeans. I still wear them. Don't get it twisted. But I mean, give these young men a nice suit to put on and take them to an extravaganza and show them what it's like to wear a black tie and put a suit on. Take the young ladies and give them a makeover and put on a nice dress for them and show them what it's like to be a lady and to keep your legs crossed and carry yourself like a feminine woman. You know what I'm saying? And so when you expose these children to these kind of things, take them to politics, take them to entertainment, take them to the court and let them see how law works. Take them to a hospital and show them how medicine works. If you expose them to something other than what they've been exposed to, it will change the course of their life. You're planting a seed in their life, and eventually that seed will grow. For the school teachers who helped me and they planted seed in my life. The mentors, Dr. Miles Monroe, and others who've touched my life has never been the same again. Now I believe and I know for certain and for sure that I can be anything that I want to be according to God's purpose. But you can only be what God called you to be. You can't be what somebody else is doing. Don't get mad and hate because they're doing their thing and they're doing it big over here. You can do it big, but the reason why you're not big is because you're trying to be like them. You have to be your kind of big. You have to be your kind of boss. You have to be what God has called you to do. There's no one else like you. You're the only original that God made. God broke the mold when he made you, when he made me. And so some of us are so busy trying to be like the other people around us and our family. We're in competition with our siblings. We're in competition with our neighborhood, our community, with the world. Be your best self and realize how unique you are. Nobody sounds like you. Nobody looks like you. They may look similar, but it's not the same thing. Nobody can do what you can do the way that you could do it. But if you tap into your spirituality and seek God's guidance and seek God's direction. And when I talk about God, I'm not talking about religion, because that's a whole nother conversation we can get into. Right. I'm not a religious person by far. I am a very spiritual person. I'm a righteous person. And so there's a difference between being spiritual, righteous, and being religious. Nothing about me is religion at all. Even Jesus the Christ wasn't even religious. It was the people that was around him that was religious, and they were pushing him in a direction to try to make him and put him in a box. But Jesus spoke about freedom. Jesus spoke about tapping into your purpose, what you were born to do. Jesus was talking about self-awareness and recognizing the God in you. It was man who created religion. And I'm not speaking against religion. I'm just saying that even sometimes those of us who follow the path of religion, we can get lost too. There are probably more Christians that are lost, more, or whatever religion you are, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, they're just as lost. Just because you pray to God doesn't mean you know where you're going, because you pray to the God of your religion, but not to the God of your heart. And so my advice is to speak to God and ask God to guide you. And it's not going to happen at church. It's not going to happen with holy oil and holy water. It's not going to happen because you have a certain kind of suit and tie, a certain kind of dress. It's going to happen when you're going through pure hell and you're behind the doors and you're crying and you're saying, God, how can I pay the bills? God, I need a car. God, my baby needs food. That's when you begin to be introduced to your university of pain. That's when you begin to take a course in a class called life. And if you're able to graduate, the Spirit of God will begin to infuse you and will begin to educate you and expose you to who you are. Not the pastor, not the pastor's new book, not the pastor's conference, and not all these other celebrities around you. It's going to be a one-on-one course between you and God. It's a crash course, because eventually you have to crash before you can ride. And so when I say crash, meaning you have to crash to everything that you know about yourself as you once knew of yourself. Once you crash and burn and hit that wall because you never wanted to listen to anybody, that's when the Spirit of God will show up and say, now that you've crashed and burned, now that you've taken this crash course, let me introduce you to who you are for real, for real. And so that's what it's all about. So exposure, self-consciousness, being divinely led by the Spirit of God, having enough confidence and faith in yourself, being uniquely you the way that you are. And always giving back to others, being kind, being careful how you treat people, because you can be famous and good looking and have muscles and money and you can have everything. But if you don't have character and if you don't have humility and humanity, you will never become successful. And if you are successful, it won't last. It will actually cause you to implode instead of explode, because you're keeping it and you're hoarding it all to yourself. When God gives you a blessing, you got to give it back in some kind of way, not just in money, but in your deeds, in your acts, in your smile, in your kindness, and in your way of serving other people in some kind of way. People call me a celebrity, but I actually call myself a servant. And so I'm here to serve the people who need my help, who need my inspiration. And again, when I speak, people always say, go ahead and preach. You're a preacher. I'm not trying to be a preacher. I'm not trying to be a prophet, but I am all of them. But I claim none of them. And the reason why is because I don't feel that God has called me to be necessarily a prophet or a preacher, but I'm a voice. I'm a vessel, and God uses me prophetically. God uses me in entertainment and radio, television. I host shows. I kick it. I don't walk around floating off the ground with a Bible in my hand 24 hours a day. I'm not the kind of dude walk around with a preacher's collar. I just come as I am, and I allow God to use me as I am. As simple as that.
That's it.
I'm just saying, Vic.
Look, you gave me. Look, if you can see me over here, I'm sitting up here trying not to. I want to jump You know,
Go ahead and
because you know
jump. You
how it
can
is. We
run.
sit behind this Zoom,
That's right. God is good.
and I'm like, you have no idea how much you are in the vein of what we were talking about this morning for the last couple of weeks. You have no idea. And I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm saying, a phrase that my best friend often uses. She says, because her phrase is, "I don't like titles," because I say that all the time. I don't. Titles don't move me. They don't shake me. But she says, "Vic, titles ain't no but a bunch of little letters to make up a word. That's all there is." And I had to get that concept, because what you're saying right now, it doesn't matter what you got on. It doesn't matter in which synagogue you're standing in. What are you truly standing in this synagogue? This thing right here,
Your
this
temple.
vessel. What does this have to do with what God has empowered you to be? I don't need a sign on my head. I don't need a title. Just let me be what God want me to be. A true servant, a true servant. Miss Sonia, you said it perfectly. A heart of a servant. Yes, most definitely. The mind of a king. Most definitely. We are kings and queens. We don't need all of the. Okay, it has its place, but it's not necessary for you in order to do what you're supposed to be doing. I'm listening to you, and I want you. Look, Prince, when I get out of here, I'm gonna be running all over this room. I'm gonna make some new hairways, because you are giving me so much energy and strength, because the old saying, if you knew what I was going through, or if I don't look like what I'm going through, all of those cliché words, and
Hey,
all of
Vic,
those
let me say
things
this.
apply today.
Let me say this.
But
They
as
say where
I'm
the spirit
listening
of the Lord is,
yes,
what they say where the spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. And liberty simply means freedom. And we just had the 4th of July not long ago. So the real 4th of July really wasn't about that. It's about independence and freedom. And I tell people, don't get caught up in the fireworks. You got to get the fireworks started within your soul so that you can live independently and be free. And that's why I think you want to run right now. You know why you want to run? You want to run because when God is using people like myself to speak a level of freedom and truth and independence, I don't have to give you my title or anything. You can feel who's using me and who sent me. And that's what it's all about. It's not about the title. And I'm not trying to speak against religion. I'm not speaking against titles. I believe that everything has a place. I think, as someone just said, everything has a place. The titles are important to a certain degree, but what's most important is that you know who you are with or without the titles. Because what if you lost your job tomorrow? What if you lost your title tomorrow? Who are you? Who are you without the titles, without the job, without the fancy car, without the big house? Who are you without a man or without a woman in your life? Who are you if your children were passed away or were murdered? Who can you be as a parent standing on your own without leaning? Because some people lean on their kids so much that if they lost their child, they don't even know who they are. So it's important about you knowing who you are as an individual soul. Because guess what? You were born individually and you're going to leave individually. You're not going to leave with a house and car. You're not going to leave with a bank account. You're not even going to leave with your children. You're going to leave by yourself the same way that you came. So it's best that you learn the path that you need for your life. The husband and the wife may come and they may go. They may marry you. They may divorce you. They may leave you. But who are you with or without a husband, with or without a wife? Can you stand on your own as an individual? And that's what God had to show me. With or without BET, who are you? Without those titles behind your name, Prince DaJour of BET, of Magic 102.3, Prince DaJour of CBS, all the different television and radio networks that I work with. Who am I without them? If they kick me to the curb tomorrow, can I still get on somebody's Zoom and speak the way that I am right now today? Yes, I can. At one point, I couldn't because I went through depression. I went through, who am I without them? I need a new deal. I need somebody to recognize me and show me who I am. Look, I am who I am. So when I'm on television and radio, it's not that they've made me who I am. They just simply exposed who I am to a mass audience. But this is me every day at the grocery store, at the gas station. People stop me, talk to me, at the cleaners. I'm always speaking life into people who wants to hear it. And that's just what it is. So your calling has nothing to do with the title or position that you're in. It's about if you see any available soul that needs help, that needs healing, be available. And it doesn't mean you got to preach to them. You don't have to always pull out a Bible, and everybody don't want you to preach to them. Some people just want a hug. Some people just want you to give them a loaf of bread and a bottle of water. Some people just need a ride down to the store because they don't have a car. Some people just need you to say, I love you. Some people just say, need you to say, I believe in you. That it's not always about preaching your whole sermon. Your life is a sermon. So if you live in, as a person of character and you have love and humility in your heart, you are preaching the greatest sermon ever taught and the greatest sermon ever spoken. All you have to do is be an example of what true love really is. And that's why when people ask me, what is my religion? I'm just going to go ahead and go there, Vic, for a minute. They always ask me, I said, I don't have a religion. And they say, why? I said, because I don't like to use titles. I said, they say everybody has a religion. I said, no, everybody doesn't have to have religion. You have one because you chose one, just like you choose food when you go to a buffet. You choose what you want to eat. And I said, I believe in God and I believe the spirit of God and the ways of God. But if I have to give you a title to make you feel comfortable, because I don't want to walk underneath a box or allow myself to be called a particular thing, my religion is love. I said, let that be the religion that you remember of me. Because even the Bible says they'll know who we are by our love. And so if the Bible tells you that they'll know who you are by your love, why should I be called anything else other than love? And so my religion is love. And love is something that everybody can relate to anywhere around the world. I don't even have to speak your language. If I give you a hug and I give you a loaf of bread and some water to eat, you know, if I'm providing some medicine for you in these third world countries, you don't even have to speak English. You can feel the God in me. You can feel the love in me. That's the most important title to wear, is a title of love. So I am love.
Man, so you are burning up the airways right now.
God is good. There's
the
a reason
vibration that you are giving. The vibration, exactly. And this is the thing. And I'm going to share this, Prince. You know, we talked last year, and we wanted to have you on the show, and things just didn't work out towards that. But I truly believe it was because of the divine time that it needed to be.
Yes.
Had you came on then last year, would it have been the divine time that it needs to be right now? I'm getting chills on my feet. Okay. Like, would it had been? Because what you are giving right now is a right now word.
Yes.
For somebody's right now situation. That's not to say that if you came last year that it wouldn't have been, but we rotate into certain areas at certain times that produces what people need. I know what I needed right now.
Yes.
Okay. I can be real. I can be real transparent, as you know I can be. See, this is the thing. I could have called you last week and said, look, man, I am going through hell. I don't feel like talking, no positive jack, nothing. But when I woke up the next day, oh yeah, we got to do this show, because even in spite of what you may not know is that the vibration that you're giving today is impacting people's lives. You got to understand that right now, after the 4th of July celebration, right now, because I remember, you know, us trying to set a date. You know, it was like, whatever date you want. No, whatever date you want me to have. You know, we were back and forth with that for about a couple of conversations. And you said, oh, let's just do it this day.
Yeah.
But how unique is it that you are speaking life and love and universal peace across the globe after the 4th of July, after the day of freedom? You are you are really giving us the real truth, the real words of freedom. It's what's inside of we. If I can't be free to be who I am today, how can I be free tomorrow? I can't be
me. Free
even
to be me.
Somebody out there is listening to you right now saying, yeah, free to be me. You know, it's funny that, you know, even from the class this morning, you are speaking such I gotta let you come to the class. That's all it is to it. It's a freebie. You come into the class so you can just, because when I'm listening to you and people are hearing you, we get so tied up in all of this stuff. The stress of life is enough, but for somebody like you to, and I say like you, the impact that you're having today, to come and say, look, you know what? Just be free to be you.
Yes.
I can give you a title if it makes you comfortable, but I'm free to be me. You know, free to be you is more important than anything. I'm finishing up a book right now about self-sabotaging and how it is funny how you can ride in the backseat of your own life and not realize that you're not free.
I like that.
But moving now into a free place, I tell you a secret, Print. My favorite vehicle that I'm going to get one of these days, if you got a friend that's got one, let me know. I want to ride a 1965 Corvette Stingray.
Is that right? Oh yeah, I remember
I
that.
want to. Do you remember, man? Can I just
I
say
remember.
that is my dream car? That's my bucket
Is that
car.
right?
So
Wow.
when I yes, so when I'm thinking about how we ride in the back seat of vehicles, and we never have the push to move to the front to get behind the steering wheel. You just gave me freedom to get in the power into the most
Yep.
powerful seat
Hmm.
behind my own personal steering wheel, all right,
That's right.
to
That's
get
right.
to move from the back, but to get into the front. You just gave us the key to move into our freedom.
That's right.
So again, I'm
Hey, Vic,
like, what is going on
hey,
in this
Vic, let me say
atmosphere?
this.
Thank
And
you.
I know we have a
Yes.
slight delay. I apologize. We're kind of stepping over top of each other. There's a delay. But let me just say this. You said something that's very profound because many of us are taking a ride in the back seat of our own life. It's time for us to take control and get in the driver's seat and let God become your navigational system. Let God be your GPS. Because if you're just riding around not know where you're going, you're stopping at all these different pit stops in your life. And that could be a pit stop of relationships, of finances, the wrong relationship, the wrong city, the wrong house, the wrong job. Let God become your GPS system. And when I say God, I'm not talking religion. I'm talking a personal relationship with the voice of God that's speaking
Yes.
inside of you. But you can only be guided by the Spirit of God if you spend time with God. I mean, the reason why, even with babies, when babies recognize the
Come
scent and the smell and the sound of their mama, most babies don't even have enough knowledge and understanding to, but they can tell by the sound. And so the more time they spend bonding with their mother, breastfeeding with their mother, staying close to the mother's heart, they know the heartbeat, the smell, and the sound of the mother's voice or the father's voice. The father's just the same. And that's the same way when it comes to spiritually. When you spend time with God and spend time with the Spirit of God in prayer and
yeah.
meditation. And to when it's time for God to give you direction, you can hear very clearly and you'll know the distinguished difference between the Spirit of God speaking to you and your own consciousness, your own mind. Because sometimes your own ego will speak to you and you'll call it God, and it may not be God. So what you have to do is spend time and take control and ask God, take the wheel. I've tried to drive my own, and we talked about being in the driver's seat. You have to be in the driver's seat, but you have to be guided by God. A lot of people are in the driver's seat and they're driving their own self, and eventually they crash and burn. So you just talked about taking the wheel of your life and find out who you are, love who you are, and go for your dreams. And then, guess what? Dreams do come true according to the purpose that God has for you, not somebody else's purpose. And that's what it's really all about.
That's Ooh. See, you are just burning me up. I can't swim, but I like to be around the water. Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. Look, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things I've done, Prince. I've never been on a plane, but I'm gonna fly one. I've
Okay,
never
you got
in
to.
my life.
You got to
I,
get on the plane. Yeah.
I might have to call you and say, can you sit beside a girl in the plane?
Hey, but you know
Because
what?
I've never
But
been on one.
we talked
Okay.
about that. Hey, but Vic, we talked about exposure. That's why I see once you're exposed to an airplane, once you do it once, you're gonna realize, wow, I can fly. I know I can. I know I can. Like my daughter, my youngest daughter is 19 and she's never been on a plane because she's always been scared. I'm about to take her on her first plane trip in about a couple weeks. We're going to visit my son who lives in another state. And so I've been trying to get her to get on the plane with me for years, but she's been afraid. But I'm going to expose her. And I'm happy to be the first man to expose her in her life. So therefore, anybody else who comes after me, my daughter can already say, "Oh, this is no big deal. My daddy exposed me to that." And that's why it's important for
Wow.
parents to expose. But parents, this is a message for the parents. Parents, expose your kids to different things before the world exposes them. What happened is, if you show your daughter how to become a woman or a young man, then the world won't teach them how to do it. If you tell your son and daughter how to carry themselves, then an alcoholic and a drug addict on the corner won't teach them that. But if you fail to teach them who they are and expose them to something different, even if it's something that you weren't exposed to growing up. Sometimes as a parent, you got to step outside of your own comfort zone and expose your kid. And maybe you and your child can be exposed at the same time. Maybe you've never done this thing. Maybe you never opened up a bank account before. Maybe you've never done your own taxes. Maybe you never cooked a meal before. But maybe
That's it. That part.
you and your child could learn together. You can Google it. You can go on YouTube and find out how to make an experience where you guys can bond together. And so my daughter and I will bond together on the airplane, and we're going to fly. And I just can't wait to see her feelings. And that's why when young men meet your daughters, a lot of times they turn your daughter out because you've never exposed your
Yeah.
daughter to information. You never told your daughter about sex education or your son.
Come
You never
on.
told them about all the games of the streets. like all the games that guys play on the streets, or all the games that girls play on the streets. If you expose your kids to different things, finances, education, sex, spirituality, how to cook, how to take care of a child, how to be a father, how to be a mother, even before they are, they'll become great at what they do. But a lot of people don't really know how to operate because they've never been exposed to it. And so therefore they're faking the game and they're pretending that they know, and they don't even know. Even grown men. Let me just go here. I feel led in my spirit to go here for a minute. A lot of grown men don't know how to be husbands or fathers. A lot of women don't know how to be mothers or wives because no one ever exposed it to it. We may have seen people in relationships, but just because you've been married for 20 and 30 years doesn't mean that it's successful. I mean, out of 20 and 30 years, how many of those years have you really been happy? And so my whole thing is expose your kids to what a good man is, what a good woman is. Even if you don't have a good man, even if you don't have a good woman, expose them to somebody that you know who could be an example to your child. And so sometimes you got to take your child to the place to expose them. Take them to a bank, take them to the hospital. Like I said earlier, take them to a law firm, take them to a chef, take them to a restaurant. You must take the child. And if you can't take your child because you don't have a vehicle money, then bring the experience to your child. Nowadays, there's no excuse. We have YouTube, we have Google. You can do it right on the cell phone and bring an experience right into your home by simply looking at a telephone. That will change the course of your child's life. Most kids are who they are today. They're getting caught up in all kind of different sexual things, all kind of drugs, alcohol. It's because you have not exposed them to a different way. Now, I don't want people sending me letters and saying that's not true, because you may have maybe you are the parent that exposed your child. Maybe you have done the right thing and taught them the ways of God and the ways of life. Some kids will make their own choices to be who they want to be and to live the life they want to live. That's their own personal choice. But I'm saying as a parent, you do have an obligation to expose your child as a mentor. As an adult, you have an opportunity to and an obligation to expose the younger generation. We always talk against the younger generation. These kids are crazy. They're killing each other. They're using drugs. They get pregnant. Well, how many kids have you taken under your wing to expose them to the way of truth? How many kids have you taken to say, this is how you do it? No, everybody is always gossiping and complaining about the youth, but how many people are making a difference to try to teach the youth the way to go? Stop complaining as an adult and start teaching, start educating, and start exposing the kids. And that's when the generation will change. Exposure will be the key going forward. That is it. That is all.
Mm, mm, mm. You are telling the truth. It is so, and this is the thing. Well, we gonna let you say what you say, but you're telling the truth. And this is the thing. I remember my now this is the thing. I have three adult daughters. Out of the three, two have both been on planes, right? And I'm excited because I kept talking about how I wanted to ride a plane. I wanted to ride a plane. And they did it. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna do this. And they did it. So when you talking to our kids, like you say, you are the first model, you're the first mentor that they're gonna know. That's regardless. Right. They're gonna see it, or either you're going to expose them to it. And now I look at and I'm like, I'm 60 years, I ain't been on a plane yet. Wait a minute, hold up. And and they do these things, right? Even my daughters, they're walking into entrepreneurships, of different kinds on different levels. Some of those things that they saw my father do, and some of the things that my father dribbled down to us. He had a 7th grade education, but and still is talked about amongst the people that he served with. Nobody knew that my dad never graduated from college. Why? Because he walked in with a certain persona about him that said he was going places that no other man could go. And even at 96 years old right now, he can still enter a room and give wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So if we don't recognize the mentors in our lives that are sitting right in front of us, I mean, I remember Summit, but what I'm going to remember is the real you. Right? Yeah, I'm going to remember BT, but I'm going to remember you. You see what I'm saying? Because you are impacting my life with real time, knowledge, and wisdom that's going to push me to my next level.
Amen. That's cool. That's what it's all about.
People, we never stop learning. We keep growing, right? We keep growing. We keep moving. And the thing is, you said so many things today, so many nuggets that, I'm sure those that are watching now and those who will watch later, if you can take just a third of what you've given today, some of us will be able to move to our next level. I'm taking these nuggets that you're giving to me today, my brother, and I'm going like, you know what? He don't even know. I mean, even just thinking about some things that I put into the book about self-sabotage, and you even talking about that. There's some things in. I'll have to send you. I have to send you the draft. I'm just gonna let you have the draft. Everybody else can get the real. Think about the other version. You get the real thing. But see, this is the thing because it's important.
No, go ahead. I think we have a delay.
I think it's important that because. Okay, let's see if we can get rid of some of this because I think it's important that some people understand that some of the reasons why we're having the issues, some of the reasons why we're having some of the issues is because we are self-sabotaging because we haven't had great mentors in our atmosphere like you. We haven't had those people that can speak life to us in the midst of. And I remember the good hair. That brother, he got some nice hair, y'all. I'm just gonna.
I did a haircut right now.
I seen him without. Some people remember that part of you.
Yeah,
but I remember. I'm admonishing, and there's not enough words, not enough adjectives, verbs that I can share right now. That I'm remembering. I'm gonna know you from that guy. How you've impacted me for the last 3 years, but how you definitely impacted me on July 8th, 2023. The impact that you're giving me right now, how it's changing, but the trajectory of where I am going now. You are truly an icon. And you are one of my heroes. I put you in that place with my dad, and not many people get in that seat. Because he is the ultimate, but I appreciate you being who you are.
Thank you.
Don't do that. You're gonna make me cry. See, you and Daddy, you're gonna make me cry.
But I want to say something. You just said something very profound. You were talking about sabotage, and that just kind of triggered something in my spirit. And so I'm so glad that you're writing a book about it because people need to hear more about it. Because the question is, what is sabotage? Self-sabotage is when you basically you're not destroyed by someone else, but you're destroying your own self. And a lot of times self-sabotage is a result of fear and low self-esteem. And a lot of people always talk about the fear of failure. A lot of people are afraid to even try to pursue their own business. They're afraid to try to pursue going back to school and getting education. They're afraid to pursue a relationship. They're afraid to pursue marriage. They're afraid of a lot of different things because they weren't exposed to the positive possibilities that can happen. They've only heard about the negative ones. Because I mean, think about it. I felt the same way many years ago. I said, man, there's no need to even get married. Everybody that I know is getting divorced. So why should I even waste my time getting married? That's because I was only exposed to all the people getting divorced. But there are a whole other group of people who have very successful marriages. We need to hear more from those people to give us encouragement so that we realize that we can open our own business. We can have our own successful marriages. And see, self-sabotage is one thing. We talk about the fear of failing. So we're afraid to try these things. Because we're afraid of rejection and failure. But there's also something that you probably want to talk about, and that's the fear of success. It's just the opposite. Some people have a fear of failure, but then there's another group of people that has a fear of success because they're afraid of the responsibility that it takes to become successful. They're afraid of failing. So they don't want to be successful. So they'll just take a mediocre experience and say, well, I'm good with what I got right here. If God wanted me to have more, I'd have more. That's always an excuse. I hear people always say, if God wanted me to have that, no, God wants you to have everything that you desire to have. That's good for you. And the reason why you don't have it, is not because God doesn't want you to have it. It's because you are afraid to go get it. And so self-sabotage is when you sabotage your own career. You sabotage your own marriage because you're afraid that the marriage is going to fail anyway. So I might as well go ahead and leave them now. I might as well go ahead and leave the job. You're afraid of success. Some people are afraid of the light. They're afraid of being acknowledged for good. They hold their head down like a slave, and they hold their head down in shame, and they look at the ground. But the truth of the matter is that you are worthy enough to be recognized with an award. You're worthy enough to be recognized with your own business, your own home, a good husband, a good wife, a good friend. So you're worthy of that, but you still sabotage yourself You'll create something to happen and then blame it on somebody else and say, see, I don't have the house because they didn't let my credit run through. You know, I don't have the car, and you blame it on everybody else except yourself. It's self-sabotage. It's time for you to embrace all that's for you and all that you're meant to have: relationship, finances, career, your own business, whatever it is. Stop using excuses on race. Stop using excuses on the white man. Stop using excuses that my mama didn't do it, my daddy couldn't do it. We have so many excuses that the pastor wouldn't let me preach, so I can't open my own church. Go open your own church. Start your own ministry. You don't have to wait for nobody else to validate you. If God validated you, you don't need the validation of anybody else. No man can validate you more than God. So once you have, but if you don't have a relationship with God, you'll be always waiting for someone else to approve you. You'll always be waiting for someone to validate you, to make you feel like you're finally worthy. I'm telling you today, if you never knew this before, you're validated. I'm validating you right now. Prince DaJour is validating you. You're validated. You can do it. You can have it. Don't wait for no man who's trying to block and get in your way. You don't need anybody's approval except God. And then after God, then you'll need other people's approval, like the bank or a business investor. But go for your dreams. Stop self-sabotaging yourself and blaming it. Some people blame their children. Well, I wanted to further my education. I wanted to start my own business, but I was raising my kids. There are many women who raised their kids and still became successful. Stop blaming your children. Stop blaming your neighborhood. Stop blaming people. Take the blame. Take ownership and your independence, you know, and your freedom, and run with it, because time waits for no one. There, Miles Monroe, my mentor, said it best. God may he rest in peace. He said the cemetery is one of the most powerful and one of the richest pieces of real estate, because so many people have died with their dreams undone, their dreams unfulfilled, because they made excuses. They didn't take advantage of the time that they have. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone. So, and the Bible says, I'll give you a scripture here, even though I'm not a preacher, but I will give you a scripture. The Bible says faith it says now faith is the substance of things hoped for, but the evidence of things not seen. The key word in that scripture is the word now. If you want to know when is the right time to start it, now. When is the right time to start my business? Now. When is the right time for me to start preparing myself to be a good wife or a husband? Now. So if you really want to be faithful or activated in faith, you have to do it now. Now, everything is about timing and everything is about season. So I'm not saying be foolish, but I am saying at least now is the moment to at least start it on the grassroots level, on the foundational level. Start gathering information and resources. It may not be the time for you to do it, but at least right now you can start getting research done about what it is that you're interested in and putting all the players in place. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. The next thing you have to have is hope. If you don't have hope, you don't have anything. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a dream and a blueprint and you act on it right now, the next thing you need is hope. When you see a drug addict or an alcoholic, the problem is not drugs and alcohol. That's a reaction to the problem. The problem is that person lost hope. They're hopeless, not homeless, but they're hopeless. And when you lose hope, you lose everything. You know, hopelessness will drive you to drugs. Hopelessness will drive you to alcohol. Hopelessness will drive you to suicide. I mean, we all have been there where sometimes we feel like giving up on life. I've been there as well. Everybody have experienced. You're not the only one who thought about it before. And so it's the substance of things hopeful, but the evidence of things not seen. So how can you have evidence if it's not seen? That's almost like an oxymoron. That doesn't make sense. If you can't see it, then it's not evidence. I dare you to go to court and say, the person murdered somebody, but I don't have any evidence. It's not seen. You have to show seen evidence. So God is letting you know that in order for you to have your now faith, your right now faith, you first have to have hope, but you have to have enough faith and to believe in things that you cannot see. It's the evidence of things not seen. So now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So you have to believe in the unseen. I had to believe in Prince DaJour when I couldn't see Prince DaJour. I had to believe that I could be on TV and radio, even when I had no TV and radio job. I had to see myself as being a celebrity, as you say, or famous. I saw that when I was in the 7th grade, when I was 10 years old. I always had a vision that would be famous one day. I saw it, and I never let people take me away from my dreams. They almost did, and I almost gave up by trying to follow them, but I went back and grabbed the hold of the wheel again, and I started driving my own life with the direction of the Holy Spirit. So have your right now faith is what's going to be the thing to activate the blessings that you're waiting for. And that's a word for you too, Vic. I'm going to go into a prophetic mode right here. I'm not going to get too deep.
Come
But
on,
I
come
want you to
on,
know that's a word
come
for
on.
you, because I feel in my spirit, the spirit led me to tell Vic that's a word for her as well. Faith, and right now is going to
Yes.
activate everything that you need in your personal life. And that's what it's really all about. It's about faith now and moving on the thing. Don't let your fears get in the way. Don't let all the things that you can do get in the way. Think about the things that you can do. That's a prophetic word for you, Vic.
I receive it. I receive
Amen.
it. See, I can't even look. I ain't going there. I receive it because you're
Amen.
telling the truth. Because you don't, you know me from a portion, but you know me through the spirit. And what you're saying
Yes,
is, I
that's
definitely
true.
receive it. If anybody
Mhm,
that knows me, knows that what he just said
mhm,
was the topping on the cake.
mhm, mhm.
Because I can't even go there, because sometimes you can't. So I got my 3S theory is still sticking in my head.
Mhm,
Silence,
mhm.
strategic plan for him
Yeah.
to show up.
Yep.
And so
That's it.
I, I can't share everything on here, but what you have said, I receive it
Mhm.
because it is a strategic move of God that you even spoke it. And
Yes.
can I even add this? Coming from you
Mhm.
means gives life to it.
Wow. Amen.
It could have came from somebody else, and I might been going,
Mhm.
yeah, whatever. They didn't tell me. I didn't
Mhm.
heard
Yeah.
that before.
Mhm. That's right.
The
Heard it all
Igor
before.
syndrome.
Yeah, right. That's right.
But I heard that before. It's been
Mhm.
prophesied before.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I'm trying to hear it. Yes, I
Mhm.
know. But to hear it from you
Wow.
now, on today,
Yes.
I will share it with you at another time off air. But what you just said now,
Mhm.
today, is powerful for me. And I do receive it.
This is more than look. Hey
I
Vic,
ain't gonna cry.
this is more than BET. See, God is good. I can feel the spirit of God moving between us right now. Where the spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. Liberty means freedom. And the reason why you feel freedom right now, and I feel it too, is because God's spirit is right here present with us. And again, people probably look at this and feel like we're having a religious experience. No, we always associate everything with religion. No, this is a freedom experience. This is a personal,
Mm,
independent experience between God and his people. And when you speak truth and love, and you really care about people the way I care about you, Vic, and the way I care about everybody who's listening and watching right now, even if I don't know you, I love you anyway. And because I do love people and I love helping people, that's when God shows up, and that's when the blessings come. All the blessings that you're waiting for, the house, the car, the money, the finances. And when I say you, not just you, but I mean everybody. These things that we're waiting for, those things are waiting on us because we have to move and operate in faith in what we were called to do. I don't care if you braid hair. I don't care if you cut hair. I don't care if you cut grass. I don't care if you rap, sing, or stand on your head for 3 hours. Whatever you do, God will provide all the things you need for that thing. The reason why most of us don't have it yet, or the things that we desire, is because we haven't positioned ourselves yet. You have to be positioned for the blessing. See, the blessing is on Fifth Avenue and you on Third Avenue. You got to get over to the right street.
come on.
You're on the wrong street. And so it's not that the blessings take a long time. It's just that it's taking you a long time to release and let go of all the baggage that you have, all the fake friends and all the fake relationships and all these counterfeit things and people in your life. When you cut it loose and let it go, that's when your balloon will soar to the top. Your air balloon is trying to elevate, but you have too many sandbags holding it down. It's time to cut the sandbags in your life.
Come
And
on.
when you do that, that's when you begin to elevate. And that's the same, I'm speaking to myself as well. I had to learn to change my life in terms of people, places, and things. When you rearrange your life with people, places, and things, your life will transform miraculously. And that's just the bottom line. And again, I'm not telling you something that I'm trying to preach to you about. I'm telling you something that I know from experience. I know this from clear experience because
Yes.
I've lived it. I lived that university. I've lived that pain. I've also lived that blessing. I've also seen miracles. So, if you want that in your life, cut the sandbags and elevate. Get on the right road, and everything you need will be a benefit to you. God will give you the resources. God will give you everything you need to provide you with what you need to get it done if you get on the right road. But a lot of times we want these benefits, but we're not on the right road, but we haven't taken a job assignment. You can't get dental and vision from
Come
a
on.
job from the HR department, but you haven't accepted the job. The benefits come freely with the
Woo!
job. Once you accept the job and the
Say,
job offer, then the health and the dental is automatically given to you. Or of course, you still got to pay for it. And that's symbolic too, because in life, you got to pay for everything. Nothing comes for free. And it doesn't go on sale. You don't get a coupon.
Come on.
Once you pay the price for your benefits and you
No.
accept the position, then the benefits will kick in and take care of you. And that includes everything that you need, from a place to lay your head to food to eat. And that's really what it's all about. Selah.
See, you just messed it.
Selah.
Come on, bro. Selah. See, and I know my one of my daughters is probably hearing you. I'm taking all three. I'm probably listening to them. When they were little, growing up, they always laughed and said, if they don't never know but one scripture out the Bible, is that now faith. Because we always say, okay, what's your scripture for today? Now faith is a
hey, look, all I know is 2, so we good.
Exactly. So I instilled that not knowing. I mean, I'm a PK, right? Yeah, y'all. I'm a PK, but I didn't really understand until after, you know what I mean? But the whole growing up life, they had to hear that. Even before I knew who I was and God, before I had the relationship with God. Even though I was singing in the choir and playing the drums sometimes in the choir, I didn't have a relationship, but I did know that now faith, right? And so they're laughing because she laughing because she going, because that was something that was still in them, that the now. And so even though the prophetic word that you gave to me about the now, that's a reminder that I can't let go of my now.
That's right.
Okay, I'm not going there.
And the thing is, I don't know a lot of scriptures either. I don't know a lot of scriptures either. I mean, even though you hear me speaking very profoundly, I'm speaking this from my spirit because this is my gift. But I'm not your typical preacher. I know a lot of history and I do a lot of reading. I know, several scriptures, but I'm not the guy. I'm not the type of guy where my references are always just about scriptures only. Because sometimes people think that God only speaks through scriptures. God will speak through everyday life. Every day, your pain will educate you more than the scripture will sometimes. So what I try to do is give people wisdom of life. And I try to speak to them about everyday practical things. But even Jesus spoke the same way. If you think about it, Jesus throughout the Bible, there's a lot of scriptures, but Jesus always gave you profound wisdom. That's why I love Dr. Miles Monroe, because he was a minister, he was a man of God and pastor, but he spoke wisdom because if you were into agriculture and farming, Jesus always gave you examples of something like a mustard seed. Or, he would give you an example of what you can relate to. If you had an issue with a sickness or disease, Jesus spoke to you about healing. He always used a point of reference of something that you practically could relate to. It wasn't about all these deep words and try to quote all the scriptures. It was about giving you something that you can understand in a practical way. And so tell your daughter, don't even worry about it. I only know about 3 or 4 myself, but guess what? Lives are still being changed. So I ain't mad at you.
But that's the thing, and you said it so correctly. My dad can quote every probably scripture in the Bible because he done read it 100 times. I mean, he's 96, but at the same token, stuff just pops in. It's not like, I know every word in the I've said. No, I'm not that. What is it that the intelligent systems that we use now? I'm not that person. But if you have a relationship with God, He give you that when you need it, and that's how I know that that's how I know you're being real today.
That's right.
That's how I know. I also want to tell you, no doubt. I want to tell you this because it's so funny. When we came to DC for Lisa's symposium, the first gathering of us this past year, May, excuse me. I still have the brain fog from COVID. Y'all forgive me. But we were all together in May. And, my godson drove us up to DC and we were in the parking lot. And I was like, I got to change. I got to put I was just like this because I'm like, I'm going to meet all of these guys and I've never seen them in person. And I'm in the trunk of my car. And this guy says, "Hey, Vic." And I looked up I'm like, and my inner was like, but you was like, "Hey, girl," and you just gave me a hug. And I want to tell you that calmed my anxious,
good anxiety,
Yeah, everybody know I'm a certified life coach and all that good stuff, and all them other titles and stuff. But even with that, you can still feel inadequate. You can still feel inadequate, but it took you hugging me in the parking lot that calmed my spirit.
That's cool. That's so cool.
I'm like, you were like, wait a minute. And then going in and seeing, of course, that is like my little brother. We stay on the phone every now and then. And seeing him in person was like, oh my God, and seeing Lisa, all of you guys, but having that experience with you in the parking lot changed it helped subside my anxiety of walking through the doors, right? You made it so cool just to leave my sneakers on. I mean, y'all, I was my blank sneakers. You made it so cool. We was chilling one week, but I want to thank you for that because you didn't know. I'm a person who suffers from anxieties, if you will, or had past anxieties. And sometimes it creeps up, right? Because again, I'm moving from the back seat to the front seat of my Corvette Stingray.
That's right.
But
there you go.
You help surpass that. You help that calm that down, and I want to thank you for that because you didn't have to. You could have just walked in. You could have said, "Hey," and kept walking. But we were all family coming together. Right. It was a family reunion, and I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Want to give you some
but
love.
Even again, the words that you've spoken to me. Yeah, and it worked, man. I look, and he's so nice, and guys, I'm telling you, he has a calm in his spirit, and I really appreciate who you are, my friend. And you're not just the icon and the celebrity of BET. You're my big brother. You're my friend. You're somebody that I look up to. I love reading your posts. I love sharing your posts. Sometimes I want to share your posts, and I'm like, that's all for me. That's all for me. I get
go for it. You can
that's for me.
Feel free to share it.
But I share a lot of your stuff and your journey, and it's just amazing to have you here on the show today. I mean, God, we've almost been on here 2 hours, but God, it's just amazing.
It's not a problem. I wanted to take the time to really give you this because we've been trying to do this for a while. But I don't know what your format is. I don't know. Are there any questions? Is there anybody with any? I would love to answer questions if people have any. If not, we can just, I'll let you flow with it,
Yeah. Put your question. If you have anything that we haven't discussed so far and you want to, this is your time to ask this mighty man any of your questions, your concerns, even how you can reach out to him. Look, I'm telling you, I'm looking at some things, Donnie. Excuse me, Donnie. Donnie must be talking about me. I'm looking at some things in 24 that I would love to include you on. Business is business, and you know how I am. But business is business. But there's some things that I really want to include you and some of the others in on. There's some things that Donnie and I've been talking about because you guys impacted more than us just sitting at the symposium. You've been impacting me ever since I've had the pleasure of meeting you all 3 years ago. And some people say, y'all never knew each other before. No, we didn't. We never had that experience of me. Well, I didn't have the experience of meeting all of you all until we came up to DC in May. And I'm telling you, I left there some of the things that we did that day has helped me overcome some things I've had to experience since then. Even last week, I'm just going to put it out there. Even last week, some of the things that you posted and some of the things that you said, even at the symposium and the others said it helped. Because, you can be on a panel with 100 people and nobody knows that you still got issues your own self. We all do.
Sure.
But you are absolutely amazing. I'm looking at the streaming. Please, we're giving you some time to put in some more questions if you have it, comments. I'm just saying, man, I can't thank you enough for being the real you. You're the real prince. You're the real prince. I mean,
my pleasure.
Will
my
Smith,
purpose.
he played the part, but we got the real in here today.
Thank you so much.
Man, I can't wait for the books. I can't wait for the stage plays. I can't, because your life needs to be out there. Well, don't forget to include a girl.
That's right. I got you.
Me
I got
up,
you.
fly me up something, you
I
know.
got
But
you.
yeah, yeah. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. We got more conversation behind this coming up
Oh
when
yeah.
when you got time because you're so busy. Guys, look, this man right here is been with us this afternoon, this morning, and I don't even, have you ever not want to hang up on the phone somebody? I'm at that moment. I don't
I
because
know,
you
right?
got
It's
you
real.
give you, it's been, we've been waiting to do this, but it's like now
Yeah.
you're here. I don't know if I should cut you off or not. Maybe I shouldn't. But
That's it. Hey, but
you're
look,
such an
hey,
amazing
Vic,
person. And
let me say this while we have some time. If we don't have any questions or whatever, just do whatever you need to do. But I do want to say this that I think in either September or October, we just filmed a documentary on BET, and it's going to be interviewing. I think it's going to be airing in September, October. It's all the whole because I used to host Teen Summit on BET, but I also used to host Rap City, the
mhm,
hip hop show on BET. We were some of the first hosts of both
did it.
shows, and so
Mhm.
they brought all of the hosts back from Rap City. Big Tigger, Joe Claire, Big Les, myself, Chris Thomas, the comedian. All of us are telling our life story. So some of what you heard today, I'm telling that story again in a documentary on BET. It'll be airing, I think, September or October, like around the BET Hip Hop Awards, because that was Rap City. People wanted to know what our life was like before we became celebrities, before we became television hosts. And so we went into some emotional experiences and we talked about our journeys. I talked about me being a single father. As a teenager, I used to bring my baby to work with me and film on the set of BET. I talked about my father dying from alcoholism, my brother heroin overdose. I talk about all these things that affected my life to make me who I am today on that documentary. And also, I want to just say, if anybody is listening, we travel around the country and we speak. And if anybody would like for me to
Yes.
come and speak, we're more than happy to accommodate them. You can reach me on my email. That's Durik DaJour, DURIK DAJOUR at gmail.com. It's Durik DaJour. And on Facebook is Durik DaJour. On Instagram is Durik DaJour as well. Spelled the same, DURIK DAJOUR. And
I'm
we'll be more than happy to come to your town and share some love and share some light, share some wisdom about the entertainment industry, relationships. We can talk about any topic that you can imagine from A to Z. It's pretty much what we cover in different symposiums, workshops, seminars, private sessions, church events, whatever it is. We host different events. So I would love to come to your town if you would have me as a guest.
and just to let you know, we are putting that information the
Okay.
mm, into the system. If you don't see it immediately popping up, we will definitely, Deborah, I'm going to put that up. And it's loading. It's the delay because it's coming up.
Yeah.
But we'll put that information out there. Please make sure you stick with us. We got Louisiana, we got Florida, we got
Love
put
Louisiana.
put where you are
Love
right
Florida.
now. Let us know where you're at right now in watching the show today, because I want. It's amazing how we got people across the globe this morning,
Yeah.
afternoon, night watching us, and I want you all to know that we're definitely going to be putting that information. How you kind of went ahead and jumped in it for me. I was going to ask what's the next thing that's coming up for you, but you already the part of it. So we know that we're going to be definitely looking for that. And you guys already know I'm the promoter that don't get paid. No, I'm just joking. I love to show people's information. I love to share great people.
Right. Thank you.
We got Houston, Texas in the house. I knew it, Dr. Claire. I knew you was out there. So
Houston, Texas. Love Texas.
we'll be sharing your information.
Right.
Yes, we're gonna be showing your information. You guys keep watching because I will share anything. The guys, all of us that was in the symposium, I try to tap in and share everything that we're still doing because we just didn't come together for one day. I think we came together for a lifetime. And so these are some people that I really trust. I got to be honest. I don't trust everybody, Prince. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't trust
Me
everybody.
either.
But people that I do us that I know that's got real, that's their purpose is to support and help other people, I make sure I put it out there. And you're one of those people. So y'all can
Thank you.
always check my page, but follow this man. Follow. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Y'all watch the Yellow Brick Road. Y'all did ours. I'm gonna tell
That's
you,
right.
you better follow my brother right here because he the man. But I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
You know, we got Martinsville, Virginia, my hometown. Deborah Gravel's in the house, and Deborah's
VA.
from
That's family right there.
Martinsville.
VA. Yeah.
All of us are, yeah. Hey, you know, see, everybody didn't know that I'm originally from Virginia. Just not a,
Okay.
I'm from a little town called Martinsville, Virginia, next to the
Oh
racetrack.
yeah, I've heard of
That's
that
where
before.
we
Yeah,
from.
I've heard of that.
But we,
Wow. Okay.
let's say, I'll take you down to the country. You can see my dad. My dad would have you rolling, man. I tell
Hey,
you,
look, hey, Vic, look,
he would
my
love. He would
kids are
love.
from my kids are from Tappahannock, Virginia, Montrose, Warsaw, Virginia. You know, I'm
Come
familiar with that
on.
whole area, you know, all the way down. Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh well. See.
I know
See,
about
we
that
got
country
more
life.
talk.
Right.
We got more to talk about. But we
Good.
would definitely be keeping everybody up to date on your happenings, where you
Thank
are,
you.
where you're going to be. October is my birth month, so you know
Mhm.
I got to be seeing what's going on with you in October because
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Okay.
ease up on you and
Okay.
check you
That's
out.
right.
I actually shared Prince in the Park when you did that.
Oh yeah.
I shared it with a good friend of mine. Well, he's my
Okay.
first boyfriend. I shared that event, and him and his wife were able to come up and partake in that. So
Oh
it was,
good.
so yeah,
That's cool.
I share you with everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank
I'm
you.
not too greedy. I'm not too greedy. Yeah,
Thank
because
you so
you're,
much.
like I said,
Appreciate it.
I like sharing amazing people doing amazing things, and you are
Mhm.
definitely one of those amazing people, and one of my
Thank you.
biggest heroes that
Thank you
I've
so
had the
much.
pleasure of meeting this
Thank you.
season. So, you guys, I'm gonna let him come back and give a final say. And again, we appreciate you coming for Victoria Elevates on Uncensored Conversation. This is the super sassy special version that we try to do at least once a month.
Mhm.
And I'm so excited that you could be my super special guest this time around the corner. So, guys, we will continue. We're watching the spinning and of the wheel with his email coming out. It will be in the comment section. We apologize for the delay, but we will get you the information so you can be able to see it. But my friend, leave these folks with something positive, more positive, if you will, to leave with this afternoon.
Well, I just want to first of all thank you for having me as a guest. We've been trying to put this together for what, almost a year or two now, and so this was the divine time. I felt led enough
Yes,
to
yes.
do it. This was the time we were able to do it. So thank you for having me. I want to thank everybody who participated, who watched. If anyone has received any kind of blessing or acknowledgement or lesson or wisdom today, I thank you for receiving me as a voice and a vessel. I told you about the documentary. I told you if you'd like for us to come and speak it to your town or your city or whatever, your school or your church, Vic will provide that information for you, Durik, DaJour at gmail.com. I am working on my first book, but the first book is actually not about
Yeah.
BET. But it's not about BET, believe it or not. This is a whole other show we could do. I'm also a cancer advocate because I was in a relationship with a young lady who passed away from breast cancer back in 2018. And so this book is about my experience taking care of her until the time she died. It's a powerful story. It's another movie in the making when you hear the story to make you want to cry. But it's like Love Jones combined with Brown Sugar combined with several movies together. And she passed from breast cancer
Oh,
that turned to lung cancer. And so I became a breast cancer advocate around the country where I speak on behalf of men who've experienced some things like this. So that's the first book that I'm scheduled to have out. I don't know when it's going to be finished yet. I'm still developing the book right now. But so I just wanted to just let people know these are things that's going to be coming to social media near you, and hopefully you'll be able to support in some kind of way.
wow. See, there's so many facets to you
Right.
that people just don't have a clue how
Mhm.
behind the scenes the things that you're doing and what you have done. you're gonna make me have to bring you back on the show for a whole nother 2 hours.
That's
I
fine.
don't
I would
know. We're
love
gonna
to.
do that.
We can find a different topic. I would love to.
Yes, we're definitely gonna have to do that. Deborah, we're gonna put all of his platform information out there in the comment section. It is still spinning. I apologize, Prince. That should have been
Okay.
already
That's okay.
up there, but we'll
There
definitely
you
get that out there because I want everybody to follow him. Get on his Facebook page and follow my brother because you will never be left in the cold. I promise you that. Again, I thank you again for being here with me.
Thank you.
We will
Thank you.
definitely communicate and talk after the show. There's so much that
God is good.
yeah.
Yeah.
God
All you
is
can say is
absolutely
yeah.
amazing.
That's right.
Hey, I'm telling you, you
That's
went from
right.
my past, my middle to my future in this whole
Wow.
conversation, and I thank you because,
You're welcome.
like you, I was not supposed to be here. I
Mhm.
was not. I
Yeah.
was not supposed to be alive, but God,
But God.
but God,
That's right. Wow.
but God. So I thank you again. So guys, thank you so much for joining us on this morning, afternoon, whatever time of the season that you're watching this. Please make sure you go out there and share, care, and like it. Follow my friend Prince DaJour. Make sure you follow him. You do not want to miss where he is going. You don't want to miss the next event or the book that's forthcoming, the play that's coming, the movie. You don't want to miss none of it. You want to be in the mix with us.
Yeah.
We will not have a conversation tomorrow night. We're going to give you another week of break because, hey, I want you to replay this video over and over and over. And we're going to be shooting it out there all night long for y'all. So you won't miss it. But make sure you go ahead and look at it. We'll come back next Sunday with another section of Uncensored Conversation with Elevated Not Tolerated. You got to stay tuned to see who our guest is going to be because we bring you those real people doing real things, making other people's lives greater and better because they decide to be elevated and not tolerated. We'll see you real soon. You can stay with me, my brother, for just a few seconds, okay?
Okay. Take care. God bless.